Are you trying to sell your courses or your coaching, but you're still having trouble getting them off the ground? This video is perfect for you. Today, I'm going to share with you the number one reason that you're not making sales yet. All right, if you are a coach, if you are selling your time, your expertise, your know-how, if you truly want to help people as a transformational coach, then I first want to congratulate you and say, great job for taking up this career. It's not easy being the type of person who can help someone really make a change in their life. And the coaching industry is growing as more and more people realize that they have a skill and they have a talent that they can use and that they can help other people. So you probably have already figured that out. But once you do start that coaching business, the next thing you need to do is start getting clients. That's what I specialize in. It's the reason that I started the Get Coaching Clients community, because what I found was that for me, it was actually easy to get my first couple of clients. I got my first 3 clients and then I continued on to grow my coaching business. But for a lot of coaches, they're having a hard time finding clients. And what I realized that kind of set me apart versus other people was that I kind of already had those marketing skills because I had already grown a blog. I had that personal finance blog that I had already started. So when I started my coaching business, I pretty much just took the knowledge and skills that I already had in marketing and shifted those over to getting clients. And I started to help clients in the area of marketing and all of that. Now, I do tell my entire story. If you'd like to kind of get the details of how I got started as a coach, how I got my first 3 clients, how I chose pricing, like all of that stuff, then you'll want to watch my training. It's called How to Create a Solid Coaching Program. And I will leave the link in the description box so that you can check that out. It's like a 60-minute video. You will have to put your email address in to watch it, but I really go into the details of exactly what I did. I do like a Q&A for everybody that was on there live. So you definitely want to check that out. But if right now you're like, well, I need to get clients and I'm not making sales yet, then I want to share with you the number one reason that you're probably not making sales. It really comes down to you are the face of the business. You are the person that people are buying, and are you being yourself? So the number one reason that you're probably not making sales yet is you're probably not confident enough to be yourself. As a coach, you have to tell people exactly what they need to do, draw out results for them. And you've got to be really adamant about what they need. And you've got to stand firm in that. If you don't stand firm in what you believe and you kind of waffle, or you say, well, in some cases it's this, but other cases it's that, you're going to have a hard time getting people to even listen to you. And you're also going to have a hard time getting clients. You want to establish and stake your claim in one area. For example, with my clients, the number one thing that I won't waver on is that you need to take action. And I'm willing to work with you as long as you're willing to take action. But if you're not willing to take action, you're not going to get any results at all, period. And the reason that I stand firm on that is because it's the way that I help draw results out for my clients. I'm the one that's going to be like, hey, this is due right now. This is what we need to get done. It's my personality. I'm very project-based. And we're going to set milestones. We're going to do each thing at those milestones. And we're going to make sure that we get to that end result and end goal that we want. Some people are not like that. For you, whatever it is for you, whatever your thing that you're unwavering on, that you take a stand for, that's what you've got to be really adamant about. Okay. So it's about having that confidence in yourself and being confident, being unwavering in your topic, in what you're sharing. And going along with that is understanding that you've got to sound like yourself. Like you have to be yourself. But if you're not really sure, well, what do I sound like? Because I'm following a mentor right now and I like the way she sounds, so maybe I sound like her. It's not about that. It's about speaking the way that you speak. I have worked with several clients and I'll show them, for example, in one of my programs, I share the emails that I send. I'm like, hey, here's a swipe file of emails. These are an example of the emails that I sent in order to get clients booked. And what I found was that some clients started taking the emails and rewording just a couple things and basically using the exact same emails, the same storylines, the same emotions. And I had to come back to them and say, hey, it doesn't sound like you. It sounds like me. because it is me, because this was me telling my story. So just because you kind of have a similar story and you shift a couple of the words around, it's not going to sound like you. There are certain words that I use that you don't. There are certain thought processes that I use that you don't. Like, everybody is different. And so if you want to sound like your mentor, all you're going to do is help people find and work with your mentor. But when you sound like yourself, that's going to help you get the clients that you need, and people are going to come and want to work with you. So you have to develop your own voice. So how do you develop your own voice? Because it does take some time. Developing your voice means figuring out the things that you do like, you don't like, what you stand for, and what you're against. So I actually did have an exercise with a mentor, and she told me to write down all the things that I stand for and all the things that I'm against, and like things that I rail against, like what frustrates me. And for me, the number one thing was people not taking action, like not being committed, saying that they want to do something, but then not doing it. And I think that that's a big frustration for me, because I was always like the A student in class, but it wasn't because I was the smartest kid in class. It's because I always did the work. I would go home when the teacher said, review this before you come to class. I would go home and I would review it before I went to class. And I would come to class with questions based on the things I didn't understand because I already reviewed it. Whereas other people in class, they did not review it. And so they were asking questions that didn't help them get to that understanding level. It was the questions that they probably could have answered themselves if they had just reviewed it. And so that's why that's something that I'm very passionate about. If you want the results, you've got to do the work, and you can't look on somebody else's paper to do the work. Like, you've got to do your own work. And once you think about that and you start writing down the things that you're passionate about and the things that you stand for and the things that you're against, it's going to help you to develop your own voice. The other thing that I would suggest is, especially when it comes to like writing copy, writing emails, sales pages, even writing out your offers and things like that, I would recommend sitting down and explaining it to someone. If you don't have someone to explain it to, then just set up your camera. You can set up your phone and just start talking as if you were talking with a friend. And if they say something like, what is it that you're selling? And what I recommend is that you start with a quick question. So, you were telling me that, you had this problem. Is this still the problem? So describe the problem. And then they're like, yeah. And you say, okay, great. Well, let me explain to you what it is. That's essentially a sales page. You make sure that the person who's reading is the right person for what you're about to offer. And then you start talking about the offer. You share a little story, a backstory. You go into why it's great. There's a whole sales page formula that I'm not going to get into right now. But the point is that when you share that content in a conversational based format, the page is going to sound like you. Even when you hire a copywriter, I have a friend who she's hired a copywriter. And when I read her content, it sounds like the copywriter. Like, it doesn't necessarily sound like her voice. And maybe they sound similar, but like, I follow this copywriter. And so I've read a lot of her stuff. And basically, like, I feel like I'm just reading her stuff on this page. So it's a very unique skill for someone to be able to match your voice. And for the most part, you can just write it yourself. So that's what it is when it comes to like copy and your emails. Like, just be conversational, write your own stuff. But it's probably the reason that you're not making sales is that you're not confident in your voice. You're not confident in yourself. You're not being strong in for or against something. And you're not speaking out about what you believe. When you are a transformational coach, people are buying you. They're not buying a book off the shelf. They're not buying, a lollipop. Like, they are buying you. So they're buying you, your personality, your beliefs, like your structure and process and way of doing things. I once had a client who, before we booked, I told her that my process is I'm very project based and I set up milestones. And she was like, yes, that's what I need. So people are buying you. Okay. They're buying your process. They're buying your strategy, your systems. Yes. But they want to work with you for a reason. And if you're not making sales, it's because you're not confident enough to sell yourself. So has this ever happened to you? Do you feel like you have an issue with confidence? I do have a video about how to get more confident on camera. And I also have a video on how to become a more confident person. You definitely should check those videos out because it's going to help you in your journey of personal development. Comment below. Let me know what your thoughts are on this. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, bye.